The first thing I remember is the sound of glass, crystal against crystal, that soft cling, cling, cling of champagne flutes tapping together like tiny bells. Someone was laughing too loud. Music hummed low from the Bluetooth speaker near the dining table, one of those romantic playlists my sister loved, all violins and slow beats and fake happiness. The whole house smelled like perfume, roses, and fried snacks. Too sweet, too crowded, too perfect. Which made sense, because tonight wasn't just dinner, it was my sister's engagement party. And in my family, small gathering meant 40 people packed into a living room pretending we were rich. Fairy lights taped to the walls, gold ribbons on chairs, my mom hovering around guests like a politician during elections, my dad doing that fake humble smile while bragging, "Yes, yes, the boy's family is very respectable, good business, very stable." Stable, that word again. In our house, stable was everything. Not happy, not kind, not honest. Just stable, predictable, controllable. My sister fit that world perfectly. Soft voice, perfect grades, safe choices, safe fiance, safe life. Everyone called her the pride of the family. And me? I was the different one, the quiet one, the one relatives tilted their heads at and asked, "So, Beta, what exactly do you do again?" Like my existence needed justification. I stood near the balcony door, half inside, half outside, letting the cold evening air touch my face. Observing. I always observed. It was easier that way. Less talking, more noticing. Uncle James was already on his third drink. You could tell by the way he laughed, loud, dramatic, like every joke deserved an award. He moved from group to group, collecting gossip like it was a hobby. That man knew everyone's salary, everyone's fights, everyone's secrets. If information was currency, Uncle James was a millionaire. And somehow he always found mine. Across the room, Mom caught my eye and motioned sharply, that tiny chin jerk, the signal. "Come here, stop standing alone, look normal." I forced a small smile and walked over. "Emily," she whispered, adjusting my hair like it was still 12. "At least try to look happy. Guests are watching." "I am happy," I said. She gave me that look, the one that meant, "Don't argue, just perform." So I performed. Nodded, smiled, passed plates, poured drinks. Played the role of the supportive older sister. No one asked me anything real. No one ever did. To them, I was background noise. The safe daughter. The simple one. The one still figuring life out. If only they knew. And honestly, I preferred it that way. Because 3 years ago, I learned something important. The less family knows about your success, the safer you are. So I stopped sharing, stopped explaining, stopped celebrating anything with them. My new job? Just freelancing. My savings? Nothing much. My weekends away? Just staying with friends. They thought I was barely surviving. Average. Behind. Harmless. It kept things peaceful. No jealousy, no expectations, no hands reaching into my pocket. Just quiet. And quiet meant freedom. Or at least, that's what I believed. Someone clinked a spoon against a glass. "Speech! Speech!" My sister blushed while her fiancé wrapped an arm around her waist. Everyone gathered closer, phones out, recording, smiling. I stood slightly behind the crowd, watching her laugh, watching my parents glow with pride. For a second, I felt something soft. Maybe relief, maybe acceptance, maybe thinking, tonight will pass peacefully. No drama, no spotlight, just survive 2 hours and go home. Easy. Then, a voice cut through the room. Loud, casual, playful, but sharp enough to slice straight through my chest. "Hey, Emily!" Uncle James. Of course. People turned automatically. He always performed like life was a stage. He raised his glass, grinning. "So, tell us something." I forced a polite smile. Here we go. Another boring question. Job, marriage, salary. Pick one. But then he said it. Clear. Confident. Like it was common knowledge. So how's that $1.5 million house you own doing? Silence. Instant. Heavy. The music kept playing for half a second too long before someone turned it off. Forks froze mid-air. My sister stopped smiling. Even the AC sounded louder. My brain didn't process the words at first, like they bounced off something inside me. $1.5 million. Own. Emily. Then it hit. Hard. Cold. My heart skipped because I never told anyone about that house. Not my parents, not my sister, not a single relative. No photos, no posts, no hints. Nothing. I bought it quietly, signed everything alone, paid everything myself. It was my secret, my safety net, my escape plan. So how does Uncle James know about something I buried 3 years ago? And, more importantly, who told him? For a few seconds after Uncle James said it, I couldn't hear anything. Not the guests, not the music, not even my own breathing. Just this dull, underwater ringing in my ears. Like my body had muted the world to protect me. A $1.5 million house. He didn't say it like a guess. He didn't say it like gossip. He said it like a fact, like something he'd seen on paper. My fingers tightened around the glass I was holding. Cold juice sloshed over the rim and onto my hand, but I didn't move because my brain was doing math. Fast, panicked math. Who knows? Not my coworkers, not my friends, not social media. I didn't even use my real address for deliveries. I was paranoid like that. Careful. Always careful. Because I learned the hard way what happens when family smells money. They don't congratulate you, they calculate you. How much does she make? How much can she give? How much can we take without asking? So I stopped giving them numbers 3 years ago, right after my first big win. I remember that day clearly, sitting alone in a tiny cafe with my laptop open, staring at the email from a client overseas. Payment confirmed. 6 digits. I reread it at least 20 times. My hands were shaking. Not because of the money, because of what it meant. Freedom. For the first time in my life, I didn't need anyone's permission. Not dad's approval, not mom's advice, not my sister's comparisons. Just me. My work, my choices. I didn't go home and celebrate, didn't tell anyone, didn't even buy cake. Instead, I opened a new bank account, then another, then I met a broker, and 2 months later, I signed papers for a small, modern house on the edge of the city. Quiet neighborhood, big windows, no relatives within 20 kilometers. It wasn't luxury, it wasn't flashy, but when the keys touched my palm, I swear I almost cried because it was the first thing in my life that no one could claim credit for. No, dad paid for this. No, family helped you. Just me. Mine. I decided that day no one in the family would ever know. Not until I was completely safe. Because growing up, money was never love in our house. It was leverage. If they paid for your college, you owed them obedience. If they bought you clothes, you owed gratitude. If they helped once, they reminded you forever. Nothing was free. Everything came with invisible strings tied around your throat. I'd watched it happen to my sister. She was the favorite, sure, but even she wasn't free. Every choice she made had to match her parents' expectations. Her job, her friends, now even her fiancé. Sometimes I wondered if being ignored was actually a blessing. At least no one tried to control me. Or so I thought. Back in the present, the party noise slowly returned. Whispers, murmurs, curious glances. Uncle James still smiling like he just told a harmless joke. "So," he said, "why so secretive, Emily?" My mouth opened. Nothing came out. Because if I spoke right now, my voice would shake, and I refused to look weak in front of them, especially not him. I forced a shrug. "It's nothing like that," I said lightly. "You probably heard wrong." A lie, a weak one, but I needed time to think, time to remember, because suddenly something clicked. A memory from last week. Tuesday morning, 6:12 a.m. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed. Bank notification. I almost ignored it, thought it was one of those useless promotional messages, but something made me check. Unusual login attempt detected. New device, new location. My stomach dropped. I sat up immediately. Nobody knew about this account. Nobody. I checked the details. Location? Near my parents' house. Same neighborhood, same internet provider. At the time, I convinced myself it was a coincidence. Maybe a system error, maybe someone nearby with similar IP routing. I changed my password anyway, enabled two-factor, added extra security, then moved on with my day. Because thinking the alternative was too ugly, too paranoid, too painful. But now, standing in this crowded living room, watching Uncle James confidently say my property's exact value, watching my father avoid eye contact, that coincidence didn't feel like coincidence anymore. It felt like a warning I ignored. My chest tightened. I remembered something else. 3 nights ago, Dad had called me randomly, which he never does. Small talk. Too friendly. Asking strange questions. "So, your work going well these days? Are you saving money or spending it? Are you planning to invest anywhere?" At the time, I thought maybe he was just trying to bond. Now, it sounded like interrogation, like data collection. My thoughts spiraled. What else did they know? Did they see my transactions, my property tax, my mortgage? No, wait. My breath caught. The property papers. I keep digital copies on my laptop, but months ago I used Dad's printer once, printed a document there, just once. I remember now, because the printer jammed and he came into the room, and for a split second, he looked at the page before I flipped it over. He didn't say anything, just said, "Oh, property papers?" I laughed it off, said it was for a friend. He nodded, too easily, like he already knew. My skin prickled. Had he searched my things after that? Checked my laptop? Called someone? Because Uncle James didn't magically guess $1.5 million. That number came from somewhere real. Paperwork, records, access. Which meant one thing. Someone close had tried to open my life like a drawer and dig through it. I looked around the room again. Same decorations, same smiling relatives, same fake happiness. But suddenly, it didn't feel like a party anymore. It felt like a stage, and I was the only one who didn't know the script. Then my phone buzzed in my hand. Another notification. Email from my bank. Subject line, home equity pre-approval, pending authorization. My heart slammed. I never applied for any equity loan, never even checked the option. So why? Why was my house being processed like collateral? And who requested it? I slowly lifted my eyes toward my parents. They were whispering to each other now, too tense, too quiet, like they were waiting for something, waiting for me to say yes, to sign something, to agree. A cold realization slid down my spine. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't curiosity. This wasn't family pride. This was preparation. And tonight, this party might not be a celebration at all. It might be a setup. And if that's true, then what exactly were they planning to make me sign in front of everyone? I didn't open the email. Not yet. If I opened it, it would become real. And for a few more seconds, I wanted to pretend I was overthinking. Maybe it was spam. Maybe some automated bank nonsense. Maybe... Emily, beta! My mom's voice snapped through my thoughts. Too sweet, too rehearsed, the kind she only used when guests were watching. Come sit with us. Why are you standing alone? I slipped my phone into my pocket and walked over. Dad, Mom, Uncle James, my sister, her fiancé, all sitting together now, like a panel, like judges, like they'd been waiting for me specifically. The couch suddenly felt very small when I sat down. Uncle James leaned forward, elbows on knees, smiling like we were sharing a joke. So, he said, nudging my shoulder, don't be shy. Big achievements should be celebrated. 1.5 million isn't small money. There it was again. That number. Exact. Precise. Not a guess. My pulse ticked faster. I forced a laugh. It's not like that, Uncle. Oh, come on, he said loudly, making sure nearby relatives could hear. Why hide from family? We're not strangers. Not strangers. Funny. Strangers don't usually try logging into your bank account at 6 in the morning. Dad cleared his throat. Then he said something that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. Actually, we were going to talk to you about something anyway. My head turned slowly toward him. His tone wasn't curious. It was confident, like a decision had already been made. Mom placed her hand over mine. Warm, but tight. Too tight. You know your sister's wedding is coming, she said gently. So many expenses, hall booking, catering, jewelry. These things add up. I stared at her, waiting. She smiled wider. And you're doing well now, mashallah. We're proud of you. That word again. Proud. They only used it when they wanted something. Dad jumped in. So we thought, instead of taking loans from outsiders, why not keep things within the family? Within the family. My chest felt hollow. Uncle James nodded dramatically. Exactly! What's the point of money if not to help your own blood? And suddenly it clicked. All of it. The question, the public announcement, the exposure. This wasn't accidental. They weren't teasing. They were cornering me. In public, in front of everyone. Because saying no privately is easy. Saying no with 40 relatives watching, that makes you the villain. Selfish, ungrateful, heartless. It was social pressure weaponized. Dad continued, casual like he was discussing groceries. You could use some equity from that house, just temporarily. We'll pay you back after the wedding. Equity? My phone felt heavy in my pocket. The email, the pre-approval, they'd already started the process without asking me, like my house was already theirs, like my signature was just a formality, like my life was a family asset. Heat rushed up my neck. I felt 12 years old again, standing in the kitchen while Dad borrowed my scholarship money for homestead needs, money I never saw again. I remembered Mom saying, "We're your parents. Why are you counting money with us?" Like boundaries were betrayal, like independence was disrespect. I looked at my sister. She wasn't stopping them. She wasn't surprised. She just looked uncomfortable, like she knew, like this conversation had already been happened. Without me, my jaw tightened. So they discussed my money, my property, my future, behind my back, and invited an audience to pressure me into agreeing. Uncle James laughed again. See, God bless daughters like Emily, successful and obedient. Obedient. That word hit harder than anything else. Not strong, not independent, obedient. That's what they thought I was. Still, after everything. Dad pulled out a folder from the table drawer. A literal folder, already prepared. Papers clipped neatly inside. My heart started pounding. No way. No way We don't have to do it now, he said lightly, sliding it toward me. But since everyone's here, it's easy to discuss. Just signatures. Simple. Simple. like signing away part of my home, like handing them control, like becoming their ATM forever. My fingers curled into fists. I could feel everyone watching, waiting, smiling politely, expecting me to be the good daughter, say yes, sacrifice quietly, because that's what I always did. That's what they believed, that I'd bend, that I'd panic, that I'd fold under pressure. But instead, something inside me went very still. Not scared, not sad, just cold. Because they didn't know something. They thought they were trapping me tonight. They thought this was their move, their ambush, their clever little plan. What they didn't know is that I stopped being naive weeks ago, and I didn't come to this party unprepared. I slowly slid my phone out of my pocket, unlocked it, opened something, and for the first time that night, I almost smiled. Because if they wanted to make this public, fine, let's make everything public. For a second, nobody spoke. The folder sat on the coffee table between us. Cream-colored. Ordinary. But it might as well have been a knife. Dad slid it closer. Just a few inches, but it felt aggressive, like a silent command. Sign, smile, be a good daughter. Around us, relatives pretended not to stare, but I could feel their eyes. Curious, judging, waiting for the successful sister to save the day. My sister avoided looking at me. Her fiancé kept checking his phone. Coward. Uncle James took another sip of his drink, clearly entertained, like this was family drama night and he had front row seats. "Don't overthink," he said casually. "It's just paperwork, family stuff. Just paperwork." Funny how the worst betrayals always hide behind soft words. I looked down at the folder. Didn't touch it. Didn't open it. Instead, I leaned back into the couch. Slowly. Calmly. And that confused them, because they were expecting panic, or guilt, or tears. Not this. Dad frowned slightly. "Emily?" I tilted my head. "Before we talk about signatures, can I ask something?" Mom blinked. "Ask what?" "How exactly did you all find out about my house?" Silence. Tiny, but loud enough. Uncle James laughed. "Are beta, information spreads. We're family. Things come up." That wasn't an answer. I kept my eyes on Dad. He didn't meet mine, just adjusted his watch. Classic tell. He only did that when lying. My voice stayed soft. "But I never told anyone, not even you." Mom forced a smile. "Maybe someone mentioned it." "Who?" No reply. The air grew thicker. I let the silence stretch, made them sit in it. Then I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "Then let's clear everything properly, since we're discussing my finances publicly anyway." Dad stiffened. "What do you mean?" I stood up. Every movement slow, controlled. My heart was racing, sure, but my face? Ice. "I mean, if we're making this a family discussion," I said, "we should show all the facts, right?" Uncle James smirked. "Facts? What facts?" I didn't answer. I just walked to the TV, picked up the HDMI cable my sister had used earlier for the slideshow, plugged it into my laptop. Click. The screen went black. Then my desktop appeared. A few cousins leaned forward, curious now. Dad's voice sharpened. "Emily, what are you doing?" "Relax," I said lightly. "Just transparency." Transparency? Funny how that word scares guilty people. I opened a folder, pre-prepared, weeks old. I named it something boring. Documents. Inside, screenshots, logs, dates, times. Everything neat, everything organized. Because when that first bank alert came weeks ago, I didn't ignore it. I investigated. Quietly, carefully, like always. I clicked the first file. Bank security log. Big letters. Unauthorized login attempts. 17 entries, dates listed, IP addresses, locations. I zoomed in. So, my bank sends me activity reports now. Pretty useful feature. Nobody laughed. Uncle's smile faded. I pointed at the screen. See these? Someone tried logging into my account multiple times. Mom's voice shook. Why are you showing this? Because it's interesting. Click. Next screen. IP trace results. Location map. A red circle. Right over our neighborhood, right over our street. My chest felt strangely light now, like I had already crossed the scariest part. I looked straight at Dad. Want to know the fun part? He finally looked at me, and for the first time that night, he looked nervous. I zoomed further. Highlighted text. Device name registered. Con Office PC. That was the name of Dad's office computer, the one he bragged about setting up himself, the one only he used. The room went dead quiet. No music, no whispers, nothing. Uncle James stopped smiling completely. Mom's fingers tightened around her purse. Dad's face drained of color. That's probably a mistake. 17 times? I asked gently. No one spoke. My voice stayed calm, almost polite. 17 login attempts over 3 weeks, all from the same device, same location. I let that sink in, then added, so when Uncle said the exact value of my house tonight, I closed the laptop slowly. Click. And when you conveniently had loan papers ready, I looked around the room, at every relative pretending not to stare. At least now I know it wasn't curiosity. My eyes returned to Dad. It was planning. The shift was instant. 5 minutes ago, I was cornered. Now, they were. Because here's the thing they never understood about me. They thought I was weak because I was quiet. I was quiet because I was watching and collecting and preparing. And this wasn't defense. This was evidence. I picked up the folder of their papers, tapped it lightly, then smiled. Small. Sharp. But don't worry, I said, softly. I didn't come tonight prepared either. The room didn't feel like an engagement party anymore. It felt like a courtroom. And everyone was waiting for the verdict. Dad tried to laugh it off. Emily, stop this drama. Close the laptop. But his voice cracked. That tiny crack told me everything. I didn't argue. I just opened one last file. Scanned documents filled the TV screen. Old ones. Yellowish. Years old. Since we're talking about family helping family, I said calmly, let's go back a little. I zoomed in on the name. Mine. My signature, but not my handwriting. Gasps behind me. That's a personal loan, I said. Taken when I was 18. Mom whispered, Emily, not here. I kept going. $50,000. Opened using my identity. Defaulted. My credit destroyed before I even started college. I looked straight at them. I never took this loan. Silence. Then chaos. Relatives murmuring. Someone recording. My sister crying. Uncle James suddenly very, very quiet. Dad stood up. We did it for the family. For the family? I laughed softly. You've been using me my whole life. I closed the laptop. No more. I walked out while they argued behind me. No goodbye, no permission, just freedom. 3 weeks later, I moved into my house. Alone. Peaceful. New locks, new number, no contact. They kept calling. I never answered. But here's the funny part. At the party, I told them the house was worth $1.5 million. That wasn't true. It was worth $3 million. And I'd already sold it before the engagement. Money transferred, untouchable, gone. The house was never home. It was bait. I let them chase it so they'd expose themselves. Now they don't know where I live. And, for the first time in my life, neither does my family. And honestly, that's the safest I've ever felt.